What's going on in today's marketplace that makes leveraging this system important and useful?
So not only does selling to your existing customers kind of give you a shortcut to people's attention, because if somebody's paying you, they're already paying attention to what you're saying. That's a payment that's coming in that you didn't have to actively do anything to create.
So hello, my name is Kristen Constable, and welcome to the Soulful CEO Path, where wisdom blends with strategy and success is measured in alignment and impact. And this show is all about guiding soul-centered entrepreneurs like you through the integration of soul and strategy in business. In our conversations, we'll explore the journey of creating a deeply fulfilling business that honors your values, nurtures your spirit, and serves the world. And today's guest is Katie Peacock, a conversion copywriter, backend automation strategist, and the creator of the post-sale profit system. And Katie helps seven-figure coaches with a tried and true signature offer find the hidden profit in their back-end business so that they can bring in an additional 5 to 6 figures in revenue every quarter from their existing offers and clients. So to me, that sounds pretty sweet. And that's why I wanted to bring Katie onto the show. So make sure that you grab a pen and paper and get ready for some big nuggets that hopefully you can integrate into your own business to help you make a lot more money with no new ads, offers, or launches. So Katie, welcome to the Soulful CEO Path. I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Thanks so much for having me, Kristen. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. So let's get straight into it. So we're talking about creating more revenue through existing offers and clients. So in your opinion, what is the most sustainable, low stress revenue stream that coaches can and service-based business owners really are leaving untapped? Like, what's the opportunity here for us?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the big opportunity that I feel like nobody is talking about is using what I call backend sales automation. So these are emails that are going specifically to the people you're already working with and selling them more, inviting them to share about your offers, and then really systematizing the process of collecting their feedback so that you can use that to tailor your offers to their specific needs. So really excited to dig into each of those strategies in more detail, but big picture, the strategy is selling to the people who have already bought from you because they are the most likely to buy from you again.
So good. I talk about this all the time in my work with clients as well, is that a lot of people focus on the new client acquisition. So it's like doing more content, getting like bigger reach with their content, all of those kinds of things, which are important. But there is that really true piece, especially if you do really good work, is that the people who've already bought from you and work with you, they know, like, and trust you already. And that's way easier. So can you share with us a little bit around like, how is this different from like an ascension offer that people might be familiar with? What are the similarities and differences?
So I would say it is built around the idea that you have multiple offers that are serving the same audience in different ways or at different levels. So this does work best if you do have an like ascension style offer suite where somebody will, come to you for what I call like your intro offer. So maybe that's a small taste of the work that you can do. They will get a really deep transformation through your signature offer. And then ideally, and this is the piece, I usually say like with no new offers, but this is one piece that you really want to have in place. You'll have a continuity offer or something that you can sell again to the people who have bought from you, brought your signature offer, so that you can, keep them in your world, keep delivering value, and, keep them paying you long term. Having those three components, and, you can have multiple versions of each one, but having each of those offers in your offer suite is really going to help you get the biggest bang for your buck. But the thing is, right, just having those offers isn't enough. And so that's the system that I teach, is really around not just thinking like, okay, well, the offer is there, like why aren't
Yeah.
they buying it, but really actively like getting in there and making a case for that offer, using your client's language to articulate that value that would be specific to them.
So very similar in terms of how I usually suggest people set up their offer suite, that intro offer, signature offer, and ascension offer. What I'm hearing is like the more sophisticated your business gets or the further along you get, you can have multiple versions of those offers. But what you're going to be talking to us today about works with just one of each of those. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So before we get into like how that all works and what you would recommend, like why don't we just start with why this is really important in today's kind of marketplace in your opinion? Yeah, like what's going on in today's marketplace that makes leveraging this system important and useful?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I have so many arguments for this, but I will give you kind of my top three. One is which, right,
Okay.
it is so easy to focus on like top of funnel marketing, like you were saying, right? More content, more leads. But the thing is that your top of funnel content is always going to be at the mercy of some kind of algorithm, whether it's Google's SEO or whether it's Instagram. I mean, I guess if you're presenting in other people's groups or something, it's in person, but really that scalable content attraction strategy is always going to be based on an algorithm. And it is getting harder and harder to stand out with the amount of content out there. And it's just like people are tired. People have a lot of stuff going on, and those strategies require more and more of us, right? To be the talking head video or to be posting multiple times a day. So, not only does selling to your existing customers kind of give you a shortcut to people's attention, because if somebody's paying you, they're already paying attention to what you're saying. And secondly, it allows you to take the pressure off of you always creating new clients through new top of funnel activity, and to really have that sustainable revenue stream of somebody who, got to the halfway point in your offer and said like, yes, I'll have that upsell, please. That's a payment that's
Mm-hmm.
coming in that you didn't have to actively do anything to create.
Yeah.
There's also like
Yeah.
so much research talking to
That's all.
yeah, there's so much research
Bottom
about
line, that's all.
yeah.
Well, why don't we just spend a little bit of time talking about that? Because in your world, I'm sure you've really been able to see this and support people with like some of the shifts that are happening. So you mentioned, the social media algorithms, people's attention spans, and capacity to people are just getting more sophisticated online, I think. So what used to work in terms of a funnel, they're like, oh, I've seen this before. Like, I'm not going to sign up for that webinar because I know it's just a funnel into buying their thing or whatever that looks like. What are some of the, like, if you have these, like, biggest argument case pain points for people to normalize that, like, if you're not getting the kind of reach that you used to be getting, or it's not working the way it used to be working, like, you're not alone? What are some of the industry trends that you're seeing?
So do you mean trends in terms of what would drive people to away from the old way and towards this new way?
Exactly. Yeah. If you've got that, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, there's the fact that like leads from paid mediums, so like face Meta ads or Google ads, are getting more and more expensive. So I have this stat that says customer acquisition costs are up 60% compared to 5 years ago. And, that's like if you're really reliant on those paid forms of traffic, that is really going to hurt. Not to mention that, like we were talking about, buyers are more sophisticated, sales cycles are slower. So taking somebody from cold lead who saw you in an ad to a person who's going to sign up for your mastermind doesn't necessarily have to take longer, but the trend is definitely towards like that person needing more trust, more nurturing before they're willing to make a high-end investment, which is why it makes so much sense to focus on giving the people who already trust you additional opportunities
Yeah.
to buy.
Cool. And I think that's just like an interesting thing for people to think about because I've had this experience myself trying to scale with ads, and it is a risk. It's, once you can make it work, it's awesome. And, I've had funnels that work and it's so nice. But to get there, there is this kind of like, well, you've got to test and you've got to see if it's going to work. And there is this risk. And are we getting the same ROI from ads as we used to? Not necessarily. So, what I love is you're offering a different option for people who may not be willing or ready to invest in, say, ads or things like that. But what I'm also hearing, and I just want to check in before we go any further, this would only really work for people who have an established signature offer that they're getting great results from with their clients in. Is that right?
So, because we're talking about back end sales, right? So, only selling to the people who have already bought from you before, the scale of the results that we can create through these strategies is based on like the volume of customers you have. So, you can implement these strategies and it will still bump up revenue, even if you're just starting out. But when I talk about helping entrepreneurs add 5 to 6 figures to their bottom line, that's really based on, that you are enrolling, if not sold out cohorts of people, then like pretty full cohorts of people when you launch, that you are seeing success with your top of funnel strategies, so that these strategies can then really help you compound on the work that you've put into your top of funnel acquisition. One thing I will say though is like, even if you don't have, a huge volume of clients coming in, what makes me so passionate about teaching this and sharing this is that most people aren't doing anything here, right? Like, even the Marie Forleos and the Amy Porterfields here, they don't necessarily have these strategies in place. And so whether you're at Marie Forleo's level or you're just starting out, putting something in place here will always be better than nothing. And I mean, that was one of the reasons that this offer came to be, was me being in multiple group coaching programs over the years and kind of noticing places that my mentors were missing out on an opportunity to either sell me something else, to get my feedback on how things were going, or to sell me into their next offer when the offer that I was in was coming to a close. So I think people are leaving a lot of money on the table. Yes, you'll see bigger results the bigger your business already is, but everybody stands to make money from implementing these techniques.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, because I think a lot of the people who are going to be listening to this aren't at that 7-figure level yet. So I wanted to ground it and be like, even if you're not there yet, it's still useful. And it's actually super interesting because I've been talking about inside of the Soulful CEO Club this month, creating really powerful offboarding and onboarding experiences. And I've had similar experiences to you in a lot of containers where the onboarding is really wow. Like, I'm like, ooh, this is exciting. I'm in somewhere new and they're like, this is going to be good. And then by the time it gets to the end, it just kind of like trickles out and you get removed from the Slack group and there's like no conversation and it feels weird, right? You're like, okay, well, that was super anticlimactic. And it does. It really misses an opportunity, but also just doesn't close the container in a way that feels good. So this is kind of cool because I hear what you're about to talk about as being things that we can implement into our offboarding strategy so that people either leave like really excited about what's next for them, or at least they have awareness around, maybe it's not the right time right now, but they have awareness and the seed is planted that in 6 months or whenever they've done their integration or the next thing, they can come back and do this. So I think it's very timely for the conversations we've been having. So why don't we dive into that piece, is like the actual strategies that you're talking about. So obviously there's a lot that I'm sure you could share, but if there were a few things that people could start doing right now to set them up to create a powerful back end funnel, what are some like key nuggets that you can drop in?
Absolutely. So you mentioned both the onboarding and offboarding experience. And in the post-sale profit system, which is my offer, my done for you offer, where I implement these strategies for my clients, we want to optimize onboarding, offboarding, but also what I call like the evolution phase, so the midpoint of your client experience. And we're optimizing all three of those phases for, are you collecting voice of customer data? So are you asking your clients strategic questions to get their words right back to you? Are you asking for referrals? And are you making them an additional offer? And I'm gonna give you like high level, and then I can make that a bit more practical. But doing those three things allows us to make really tailored offers to people using that voice of customer data. Asking for referrals allows you to grow your business, right, organically. Like you are sidestepping those customer acquisition costs, and people who come to you by referrals often end up being very high quality leads. So you're also kind of adding that component to the customer value of the person who's giving you the referral. And then making somebody an upsell or a cross sell is really about, like finding out what would serve them best at that moment and making sure that it is easily accessible and that they're aware of the fact that that exists. And when we do all of these things, engagement in your program goes up. People stay longer if it's a membership or if it's something that they could re-enroll in. And people end up buying more and buying for longer because they're engaged, because they feel like you're paying attention, and because you're framing the benefits of your program in terms of what they have said that they want, which all happens thanks to that voice of customer data that you're collecting. So that was a lot. I'd love to know, like, is there any points to clarify from that? Or
Well, I have so many questions. I'm so interested, even just for myself in this. So let's start with the midway check-in, because that was the piece that I missed in what I was sharing. And I think it's really interesting at that point in time to check in with people because if we look at the arc of usually experiences, there's like the midway point is hopefully where people are starting to see some results and, are starting to have things click. So, what is to you significant about doing that midway check in, and what does that look like at that point?
absolutely. So many benefits to doing this. One, like you were saying, people are like ideally around that midway point, people are starting to see results. So you are getting a sense of what kind of wins happen early in your program. And of course, you can screenshot those wins and with permission, share them as evidence of the early wins people are having inside your program. The other thing that feedback allows you to do is course correct if there's a disconnect between what one cohort or one student was expecting in your program and what they're experiencing. Depending on the format of the program, how you course correct might look really different, but it could be as simple as having your customer success person get on a call with them, or you personally offering them an extra support call, personally offering them and connecting them with an additional resource. But that kind of positive customer service experience is exactly the kind of interaction that can turn a bad customer experience into a good one, make somebody a brand advocate for you, make somebody, who was actually drifting away more likely to lean in and more likely to buy from you again in the future. And you might find, right, that somebody completes your feedback form and says like, I love this, but I'm finding it a bit too like beginner for me. And then you have an opportunity to say, well, look, I have a next level program, or you can upgrade people early if there's something better suited for their needs. So it's really about being responsive, being supportive, and being proactive to what people are telling you about. But because it's all done through this automated email sequence, you're able to do that at scale.
Very cool. Well, I really love how you're making the connection between yes, as business owners, we're wanting to drive sales and maximize our revenue. Absolutely. But I also like believe just as strongly in creating these amazing client experiences for our existing client base. And so what I love about what you're sharing is that it's not just about getting people to buy more. It's about really like authentically checking in with them to support them in whatever way that might look like. Maybe it's selling them more, but maybe it's actually just supporting them more deeply in your container. And if we're not asking these questions, we don't know. And then if they feel supported, they're going to have, whether they buy with you ever again or not, they're going to be amazing brand advocates. And I love the power of creating a referral business because it's so, yeah, like word of mouth is just like, to me, the most powerful sales tool there is. So love that, and love that this system is really supporting in that. And then maybe you can share a little bit about, for the people who are ready for this automation, the sophistication of having this voice of customer research, then giving intelligence basically to the next step. How do you do that?
Yeah, so there are a couple of ways you can do it. One is a tool that I'm exploring right now is called Write Message, which allows you to
Mhm.
tag. So you would send a segmentation email or send a form that's helping you segment your clients. And then based on the segment that those people are in, when they click to a sales page, they will see different messages. So you're
Mhm.
creating a dynamic sales page with different messaging based
Okay.
on that person's segment. Another way that you can do this is using those custom fields in your email marketing platform. So you could, when they're again filling out a form, ask them a question that, let's say you want to know their goal for something, ask them that question, they enter that in a form, and then using conditional formatting, you can pull up that information so that the email that they're getting saying, I know, or I heard you say you were working towards this, that goal that you're inputting in that email is exactly what they told you they wanted. Those are just a couple of off the cuff examples. Obviously, this is really tailored to like your tech stack, your goals, what offers you're making. But yeah, there's some really cool tools out there right now that can help us do this. And even if you're just starting out, or even if you're like, okay, you lost me when you said conditional formatting, um, the analog way of doing this, right, is just to really be regularly checking in with the feedback you're collecting and making sure that you are framing your offer in the words that your clients are actually using, and potentially, um, tracking their behavior as they go through your offer so that you can manually segment them or be segmenting them based on that behavior, and then they are receiving different emails based on that, that tracked behavior. So if
Yeah.
somebody clicked to a resource about a certain topic, then maybe as they're finishing your program, you want to offer them a cross sell that's related to that topic. Just tailoring your follow up to the actions that you've actually seen them take.
Wow. This is like blowing my mind. I'm thinking about right now inside of the Soulful CEO Club, like how much more I could support the people in that program if I knew what trainings they were doing. And right now I'm like talking to people about it, but this is like a whole nother level. And what it's really like opening me up to is like, this is the way that big businesses are already operating. If we just even think about, I don't know, like Uber Eats or something
Mm-hmm.
like that as an example, it's like the things that are going to come up are based on your behaviors. They're going to give you discounts and promotions to things that they know that you already want. And it's getting more and more like that in terms of the way that we buy. And so it would be silly not to start to think about this in our own like service-based businesses, because that really is where like buyer behavior is going. And it makes sense why these generic sales pages or generic messaging isn't really meeting people, because even on a subconscious level, we are becoming more, our expectations are that it's going to be tailored to us.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really cool. I think what you're doing is really neat. And I love that you're making connection that no matter where people are at, they can start with more analog, manual ways of doing this. And over time, as the revenue's there and as as you start to scale, you can make this more automated with systems. And it sounds like there's no end to like where that could go.
Exactly. I think you make such a good point, Kristen, because I mean, personally, my favorite way to shop is like I go on the Zara app, I click on one item, and then it says like style this with, and then I click on those items. I am so joyfully lazy in that way. And actually, when I started looking into stats around this offer, I read that 35% of Amazon's revenue comes from those suggested product boxes.
Wow.
So 35% of their revenue comes from recommending items based on something, people like you bought or you might also like. And so, I mean, I don't aspire to be like Amazon in a lot of ways, but that is one thing I think we can definitely take from them, making it easy for people, just connecting the dots of what makes the most sense for you and making it feel really thoughtful and intentional. And I would just add is another way of really combating. I know some people worry about selling to people in an existing container, feeling salesy or feeling too pushy or over the top. But when it is really um, framed in their own words based on what they said that they wanted, it doesn't feel like a hard sell. It feels like that supportive, how thoughtful of you, um, you know, somebody's watching out for you.
Totally. Yeah, I could for sure see that. If it's a random thing that you're just like, hey, now I have this that I'm selling, it could feel weird. But if it's like, hey, I noticed you were, wanting to implement a low ticket funnel, this might really support you with that. And I don't know if you offer this, but like something that's coming up for me is like people inside the containers, you could even offer them a VIP price point on some of the upsells if you wanted. So there's so many ways to make it relational and feel like you're really taking care of people. And I'm just thinking about like, a premium experience that you go somewhere like to a restaurant or something like that. And there's these add-ons that you can do. And if it's done right, it actually is like, wow, that made the experience like super nice and more elevated than if they weren't to suggest some of the, maybe the beautiful wine pairing or whatever that looks like. So yes, we could go on for metaphors for a long time, but it really is. It's great because, and you mentioned this idea of like being joyfully lazy. I think that that's so fun. And thinking about that, how can we allow our clients to be joyfully lazy, and not be that ourselves as business owners, not be lazy as business owners. And so, being lazy as a business owner is having potentially just one offer that you spam everybody with and then like hope that the right people will hear it. But this is being really intentional and not lazy and thoughtful, so that our clients can be lazy, which is, I think, a really nice reframe.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's such a contrast with the um like I don't want you to add another launch. I don't want you to worry about creating a brand new evergreen funnel from scratch. I just want you to look at the client experience. If you have offers, you have a client experience. So, what can you do to optimize that client experience so that you are connecting people with their right next step at the right moment and framing it in the right message for them?
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. So, in case we're not being excitable enough about this, I'm curious if you have any kind of numbers you can give us around what's possible by implementing something like this. What have you seen, or what could you expect if you were to take on putting in a system like you're suggesting?
Absolutely. So, I mean, like I said earlier, Kristen, it really does depend on the input, right? The input will determine the output. But I do want to reassure people that no matter what kind of business you run, these strategies can help you make more money. So I personally, I've only started selling this as an offer in the last 6 months, but as a done for you service provider, I have personally created $185,000 just from repeat clients in the last 6 years, just because I make it a practice to, in my offboarding process, ask people, what kind of support would you be interested in going forward? And then following up with them with offers tailored to the kind of support that they said they wanted. So as a service provider, first of all, that's one strategy I'd highly recommend. And that's literally like one free way that you can create more revenue from repeat clients. So 38% of my clients have become repeat clients using that strategy. The other strategy at play there is having a way for people to come back to work with you easily. So those are my own results. Secondly, if you are already, doing great, you have that signature offer, you're selling at scale, you can use my ROI calculator to see exactly what the numbers might look like for you. So I hope we can share that with people, but you
Yeah,
can
I'll
check
put it in
out
the show
my
notes for sure. Linked.
fantastic. So I have an ROI calculator called What's the Profit Potential of Your Business's Back End? And you can plug in your numbers and see exactly what what a 10% bump in the key metrics I track would look like for you. When I recently put in Amy Porterfield's numbers, just because she is so transparent about her numbers, her strategies, and also because she has exactly kind of the offers that we talked about being prime for this kind of strategy in place, it told me that she stood to add $1.5 million to her bottom line. So that was really exciting to me to see like what was possible, right? Because I had been saying 5 to 6 figures, but to see that really somebody already selling at that scale could have that kind of win was really exciting. Now, yesterday I was working on a new resource that I'm putting together, and I was playing around with different business models in the ROI calculator, and I put in the numbers of my friend and client Sue, who has a membership at $39 a month, and playing around with adding an upsell, collecting that voice of customer data, asking people to refer a friend. I saw that it would be possible for her to triple the average lifetime customer value. So it literally went from somewhere around $300 to somewhere around $900 for someone who stayed in her membership for just 6 months. So
very cool.
I guess the short answer would be go check out the ROI calculator to see exactly what the wins could look like for you. But there are so many different ways of implementing these core strategies in your business's back end that, really no matter where you are, I think you can find some kind of gain that will get you excited about putting this into practice.
Yeah. Oh, so fun. I love the variety of experiences there from, and what's neat about all of it, like we've been talking about, is it is leveraging what's already there, what's already existing, the existing client base. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing so much about your system and this kind of back end sales funnel idea, and how I think what was great about our conversation today is that it wasn't just, you need to hire me to do the whole system. Of course, you would be great to implement that. And I'll put all of Katie's information in the show notes if you're at that point where or just want someone to fully take care of it for you. But you've also given us a lot of little things that we could just start with and then start to grow that over time to get it to the place, the end result that you're kind of talking about there. So thank you for all of that. One question I always ask people while they're on the Soulful CEO path is, what does being a Soulful CEO mean to you? So today we've talked a lot about profit and revenue, and I totally believe that that is part of being a Soulful CEO. But I'd love for people to just learn a little bit more about you and what you're all about as well through maybe your answer to that question.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that. So to me, I think it's really about being able to follow your own, like, to follow your gut, to follow your intuition, to follow your values. And being a soulful CEO to me is like making decisions from that place of what feels right to me in my body with my experience, and not doing something just because somebody else told me to, or not doing it exactly their way, but really taking anything that someone can teach you or advise you to do and putting it through that filter of like what feels right for me. And so
Yeah.
whenever I wear your Soulful CEO hat, Kristen, which I love, I always think of that as like just a sign that it's like this is how I'm showing up as somebody who follows like my gut and not what somebody else is telling me I have to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. I don't know if I've heard that answer before. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for being on the show. I'll link all of your information, including the ROI calculator, that if anyone's interested to check that out, go check that out in the show notes. And for all of you that were listening, thank you so much for being here. If you found this show helpful, please just hit that follow and subscribe button. It really does do wonders for the show so more people can find it and listen into these kinds of conversations. And if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, just shoot me a DM on Instagram at Kristen Constable. Or if you have an episode idea or a guest recommendation, I'm putting all of that together for season 2, which will start in January. So just let me know what you've got in mind. So I'm Kristen Constable, and I'll see you in the next episode.